Welcome to the last Finnish class of this series. Today's class is going to be a bit shorter than the previous ones because of the type of topic it is. It is very difficult to go deeply through, so we will just go through the very surface stuff, and then it can be easier for you to get deeper into it on yourself. Before we even start, I just want to mention that I have been sharing some resources related to today's class into the Finnish resource drawer in Discord. So after class, I highly recommend checking those. Today's topic is social media. We will go through a little bit. Most importantly, the spoken language we use in Finland. Most notable differences and what the spoken language actually is. Here we have some examples on the left of how to say a very basic sentence of I am, you are, he is. And here we have on the left, we have the written language version. Minä olen, sinä olet, hän on. And next to them is the spoken language version. You can see how things have shortened, how they have changed in this most simple example that I can give to you. As you can see, just as in written language, the words still conjugate depending on who is speaking. They just, generally speaking, become shorter. The idea of spoken language is to make the speaking more smooth, faster, and easier. This is mainly from the point of view of the native and the more fluent people, but the way it changes the language is that the words become shorter, there are letters that will be removed, and some vowels become longer, which makes the language flow easier. When you're talking with other people, it makes it sound more natural. For example, I have here showcased how you transform the word olen, which is I am, into the spoken language version, which is on. As you can see, from the middle, the LE is removed and the first O letter becomes long. So olen transforms into on. This is not how all of the words change, but this is kind of a simple example to showcase the idea, sort of how it still does happen. Obviously, it depends on the words, but the general idea, because the word becomes way smoother when there's like only two different letters compared to it having four letters and all of them being different. Because as you know, in Finnish language, when there's a word with multiple letters, we pronounce every single letter. We don't have silent letters in our language, which is the reason why the spoken language has become even a thing, because that just makes it easier to speak because you don't need to pronounce all the letters in the word. But texting shortly, we do have some shortenings in Finnish language, but sadly, because texting is quite a modern language, the modern way of communicating, and Finnish is a very conservative language. We haven't really made up our own shortening. So most shortenings that we use in texting in Finland come directly from English, like LOL, BRB, talk to you later, TTYL, AFK. We use those a lot. And if you ever text with a Finnish person, for example, here in Discord or anywhere else you might do it, you might see that we use those a lot. Some examples that you can see in texting as well. I have here 3 examples. I tried to seek for more, but we don't, as said, we don't really have our own shortenings and we don't really use the shortened versions of the words unless we really need them, I guess, which we don't, because we text already in spoken language, which is already simplified and shortened. The examples we have here, EMT, which is, I don't know, it's shortened from en, mä, tiedä. En means no. Technically, mä is I, like I don't together. And tiedä, it's to know. Mä en tiedä, I don't know. Then we have cool, which is, well, it just means cool. But the younger generation has started to write it in different way. It's not really shorter than the English version. It's written the way some people pronounce it, so to say. And you can definitely see some younger generations to use it. We have this mitvit. It's usually people write it together, and it means the same as VTF, WF. It's the same. People use it instead of WTF, or they also use the English version. That is shortly about texting. If you want to learn more about texting, I highly recommend coming the chat into the Finnish channel. This is a thing that as a native speaker can be a bit difficult to think, but I've noticed that sometimes when I text, I use different shortenings myself, and then people might ask like, okay, what does that mean? So I think it's like a thing that is easier to spot in nature. Also, it's not really like, oh, this is one shortening and a lot of people use it. I have noticed with my friends that some of my friends use their completely own ones. Like they have their own way of writing some word, some shortening like that, which is exactly why I mean it's probably one of the best ways to learn while chatting with people, because people use and share different texting methods. The most common filler words. Alongside of conjugating the basic words differently in spoken language, Finnish language uses a lot filler words. And if you don't know what a filler word is, it's basically a word that is added to a sentence that doesn't really bring any information into it. The meaning of the filler words is to make the sentence sound more humane or put some certain weight to some sentences. They are just addition in there. In here, we have 6 very common filler words. One thing that you might notice is that all of them end with the ending ku, ku. It's basically a combination of 2 words. There is eiku, which is technically eikun, mutku, mutta kun, nytku, nyt kun, niin kuin, sitku, sitten kun, voiku, voin kun. They are basically 2 words that have been shortened and then put together. These words, even if they are separated, they can be really difficult to translate into English. I'm very sorry about. I tried to make some simplified translations in here that are with a bit less bright gray, but I tinted them down a bit because they are not that specific. They might not be the best translations. So instead of just leaving them to that, I also have some example sentences. And the example sentences are exactly something that can definitely help you out to understand maybe the meaning of the word a bit better than just a singular word translation. Especially because sometimes the way we use the language when we speak, it can be a bit, I don't want to say complicated, but if you're learning the language for the first time or trying to get used to it, it can be really different from the written language you have learned previously, because that's where the learning does begin. I'm going to read the word, the Finnish example sentence, and then the English sentence. you will hear a bit how the filler words work. Eiku. Eiku, nyt mä muistan. Oh, now I remember. Mutku. Mutku mä haluan. Because I want. Nyt kun me ollaan täällä. Know when we are here. Niinku sillä tavalla. So like that way. Sit kun mä oon aikuinen. Then when I'm an adult. Voiku ois jo kesä. Oh, it to be summer already. As you can see, or as you can hear, I try to use different tone of voice to kind of showcase what way the words work. Finnish language, the way you say a word, the way you pronounce it, the tone wave, so to say. It doesn't matter, the meaning of the word doesn't change. But in spoken language, the way you say things, the way the words can definitely help you out to get your message through the way you mean it. Because although spoken language is made to be simplified from the written language, it's supposed to be more humane, more natural, more emotional. And learning how to bring your emotions, your feelings, whatever you want to get through, even with filler words, it's important. And I would recommend you to learn to change your tone of voice when you're speaking. Obviously, it can be really difficult at first, and that's completely fine. It does take a while. It does take a while for me to learn my target languages as well, in more natural way. But it's a thing to practice, especially with filler words, because they can work differently in very different situations. But here were the most common filler words that end with the Kaiku. Next, there are some other filler words you might face. And as you can see here, I have explained it a bit more that Finnish language has a lot of filler words to make the speaking more humane and less awkward, or to put additional weight for the topic. We do have a lot of filler words. We absolutely love them, and we're also sorry about them. We use them basically everywhere. If you happen to come to Finland, if you happen to speak Finnish with Finnish people, and or some good ones to remember. I'm gonna read the Finnish version, and you are gonna see the translation on the right. Okei. Tavallaan periaatteessa käytännössä. Tiiäksä? And there you go. I want to remind or point out that I added some filler word resources in the resource drawer. So although here's some very useful ones, I highly recommend going them through in there as well if you are more interested to see how the filler words work in action, or if you want to learn more about them. Based on the Finnish grammar rules, the curse words, the bad words, they also can be counted as filler words. But, you know, although Finnish people, we do curse a lot, you will hear a lot of cursing, it's still considered kind of rude. So if you don't know, what to say, I would highly recommend saying instead of some bad words. They're still rude, although grammatically they would fit well in here. This is gonna be the last topic of today's class. As I warned you, this is gonna be a bit shorter than the previous ones because we really go through the surface only. But when we talk about the spoken language, the dialects of the language do have a huge part of affecting the spoken language, especially in the areas where the dialects are from. In Finland, we have over 40 dialects, which is a lot. There is something like between 40 and 50. In this map, there is listed about 43, I think, 43, 45 dialects, but those are more or less the dialects spoken in Finland. Obviously, as you can see from the map, there's some areas in Sweden, in Norway, and in Russia where they also speak different Finnish dialects. But Finnish dialects, they have spread a bit more widely. So here's like the most Finland-centered, I would say. But from all of these dialects, they have been split into two halves. The two halves are the Western dialects and the Eastern dialects. And as you may guess, the Western dialects, they have a bit more influence from Sweden, from Estonia, and depending on the area, there can be also some influence from Norway, but that's only with the very northern ones. And just like that, the Eastern dialect, they have more influence from Russia, from the Slavic languages, and they can share a bit more words or terms. Obviously, the Finnish language itself is still a mix of Uralic languages, Swedish, and Russia. So no matter where you are, you can still face words that are sounding Swedish, although you're in East, and words that sound Russian, even though you're West. But these two halves just have like extra influence, I think I would say. But within these two halves, we have two main groups of Eastern dialects and 6 main groups of Western dialects. The reason why I have listed here that we have total of 8 plus 1 main groups is because we also have Helsinki slang, which is, some people think it's a dialect, some people don't. It's sharing a very, people have a very wide opinion about it, I would say, which is why I also wanted to mention it separately, because it's this way of speaking in Helsinki that is constantly changing. It has a lot of slang words, and it's taking a lot of influence from people moving into Finland from other countries like Middle East, a lot of influence from Swedish, from Russia as well, from Estonia and things like that, but it's not always really counted as an actual dialect, and it's only used in Helsinki, and I would say that it's mostly used specifically in eastern part of Helsinki. So it's a really specific kind of way of speaking. But it's, some people like it, some don't. It's very complicated to learn, but they do have some funny and useful words that might spread a bit more. Also, the dialects have a vital role in the spoken languages of the areas where they come from. Although you might try to learn a spoken language, it might not be the exactly same in the West as it in East. Or even if you come to Tavastia. Tavastia is where I'm from. I speak Tavastian dialect myself. If you happen to look at the map in here, I think the 3D is the type of dialect I speak when I speak Finnish. But if I even happen to go over the border to 7B, then that's the Southern Savonia, and they speak completely differently. We all share the same language, of course, everyone speaks Finnish, but they just have a lot different words and different terms. Sometimes, especially foreigners might think, well, can you understand them? Can they understand each other between different dialects? And the answer is mostly yes, but not always. because especially the Savonian dialects, I like them. They're very nice, but they can be really complicated. They can be really difficult. But we do have a lot of dialects that are almost identical, even though some dialects are more complicated, although they have different words, different ways of saying things. That's not really you should stress about, because it's still mostly the same. And even with Finns, even if you're a native speaker, you sometimes need to ask the other person, like, hey, can you explain what you meant? Like, can you repeat it, explain? Because even us, we don't always understand, and it's completely fine. We Finns, we like to joke about sometimes that about the dialects, but it's fine. People gladly explain what they mean, and then you can learn a lot of different dialect words based on that. But if I should name any dialect group that you should learn, that you should focus into when you're first trying to learn a spoken language, I would say that the dialects spoken in Tavastia and in the capital area, they are the most simple ones, because they usually just shorten words, they just simplify words. The capital area and Tavastia dialects, they don't come up with new words that much. We don't have that many unique words just within our dialect. But also, if you know that you want to study, for example, closer to Oulu, which is in here map, it would be the 5B area. Then obviously, if you want to go to a specific area and you want to learn the specific dialect of that area, then that's completely fine. That is just as valid. But if you just want to learn something, it doesn't really matter to you, then the capital area and the Tavastia dialects are the most simple. If you go to the internet and you just try to find resources, like, okay, give me spoken Finnish resources, I want to learn spoken Finnish, spoken language, then the Tavastia dialect is usually the default what those resources offer as well. As said, that was the last topic we have today. There's a lot of resources in the Finnish resource drawer. Also, if anyone has still any questions about texting, the spoken language, the dialects, you can find me from the Finnish channel in here in Discord. And we also have other natives that can help a lot with the spoken language, the texting language. Or if you just want to come and chat, have a casual chat, try out the things that you might have learned during your resources, then we can definitely do that, have some more casual and more spoken language including chat as well in there. That was the last beginner class of this series. Bye bye and have a good one, everyone.